Howdy, y'all. I'm over here on the Pacific Ocean in Oregon, more specifically Cannon Beach. And I said you guys yesterday. What do you guys? Da 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 da. Rather than saying y'all. So confusing, right? And then them California folks, they like to say right on. Right on, right on, right on. So anyhow, I lived here on this ocean before for 5 years, and then another 5 over by the volcanoes there in the central part of Oregon, or in Oregon. I lived in Bend, Oregon, and a lot of California is given that it's a neighboring state, and they like to say that right on, right on. So anyhow, there I was in Texas, saying right on, y'all. Now I'm back to slipping out a couple of you guys. If I had said you guys in Texas, they would have looked at me like, oh, he's a transplant. But anyhow, so enough of me, right? Although that's not a bad thing to know the heart of your teacher. I use that title loosely because I'm just your brother. The Lord wants me to do a few things. It's just a job. So to take on a title of being a teacher, technically I am. To want the accolades and the acknowledgement of that, no, I'm not really interested. I just be your brother, right? So, but when I get, talking a little bit of personal type stuff in the beginning, it's not always a bad thing. At least the guy talking is got a good heart. Let's see what's over that thing. So today, because the boss told me to teach today, and there's only 5 things that I have to teach, and you think, well, why don't you just get them over with? Or what's these other videos all about? I'm sure he's already done it. Yeah, that's true. But, some of those videos are long, and people don't want to watch long videos. Some of them, have this and that. So whatever, man. I got 5 things to teach. Every time he tells me to go to work, I got to teach one of them. And I'm sure that, I never script anything. And I never keep record of how I taught something in the past. So it's always going to be different. So that's always good, right? Even when they're trying to sell you something on TV, they put the phone number in front of you at least 3 times. So repetition is not a bad thing. Today, I think if I face this way, I got less wind. Today, we're going to go, so baptism, that's always a good one. Name, that's a good one. Grace, we just got done talking about that. And then faith, oh man, I probably shouldn't bust into faith right now. Faith is the foundation of everything. And it's so misunderstood, it's not even funny. So, let's go with healing. So you got your physical healing, and some churches, primarily like Pentecostal, non-denomination type churches, will get into physical healings big time. They'll have physical healing services. Some of the televangelists, they wanna talk all that physical healing all the time. That's their thing. And look at the miraculous power of God and this and that. Some of them years ago used to go around in a circus environment and have their revival, and they would stage healings. They would fake it. I'm here to tell you right now, suffer physically, suffer. Because the greater you are physical and you are spiritual. The lesser, obviously, is the physical. You're only here for about 80 years, maybe 100 years. 120 is all you're promised. So, your healing needs to be for your soul, your spirit. right? So you got a body, you got a soul. Your soul is mostly your mind. We can break it down by saying intellect, your will, and your emotions. But all that comes from your mind. So that's your soul, which gets saved, right? That's cool. You get to keep your individuality. And then your spirit. Your spirit is kind of like your gut feeling, okay? Your spirit becomes more prevalent in your life when you enter into the baptism of the Holy Ghost, the second baptism, well, I can't teach, I'm not going to teach them both at the same time. The second baptism, which happens to be Jesus's first, of Jesus's two. John had the one. John's was water, Jesus' baptism of the Holy Ghost, and the baptism of fire, which is trials and tribulations that come upon you, kind of like, I say, suffer physically, okay? So, anyhow, you got your body suffering, a lot of times it's because the person didn't maintain themselves, they overindulged, they were abusive to their body. Sometimes it's genetic, sometimes it's environmental, but you got your body and it can be afflicted, okay? Then your soul, your mind, right? The emotions are going crazy because your body's being afflicted, your mind is occupied with it, and it's not your will to be sick, right? But you're having to succumb to it, but it's not your will. So your soul is being really beaten up, really being crunched. But then that gives your spirit an opportunity to soar, okay? You get baptized with the Holy Ghost, and then you enter into this zone, this realm, this existence of being able, the Lord's able to quicken you. And to be quickened is kind of like goosebumps on the back of your neck. A lot of times you'll be thinking about saying something to somebody, and you'll get that sensation on the back of your neck. That's the Lord telling you to say it. And if you were all puffed up and all into organized religion, and you wanted to try to have the vanity like you was somebody, you could actually say the words, "Thus saith the Lord," because it actually is the Lord saying it, because He's quickening you to say the very thing that is on the tip of your tongue. So if you wanted to say, "Thus saith the Lord," you could say it. Now, I hardly ever say that, but I will tell people, listen, I'm being quickened to tell you this, and I describe what quicken is all about. That's the way I handle that. But when you are suffering physically, your soul is also vexed, but your spirit has an opportunity to be more receptive. It's kind of like tuning in an old school TV or the radio station as you're driving down the road, and you're trying to just dial it in. So that's how kind of your spirit. When your body is broken, when your soul is vexed, your spirit has an opportunity to receive. So when I teach healing, I want you to be healed in your spirit. I want your soul to evolve. I want the maturity of your mind, right? Your soul, your emotions, your will, your intellect. I want it to be elevated, okay? So the body being afflicted has the ability to elevate your mind, because when you do overcome the whatever is making you sick, then you've got a testimony, which is great to share with others. It strengthens them. And then you also got a lot of epiphanies and revelations along the way that you wouldn't have had if you hadn't suffered. You wouldn't have had if you wouldn't have suffered. You with me? So when I teach healing, I'm not going to teach physical healing. Now, am I willing to engage in the miraculous manifestations of the Lord physically healing people? Yes. If it brings witness to the power of God, like say one of these two people here, the Lord would quicken me to go down and to ask them if the one has a problem with this or that. They might, a look might come over their face and they might be like, how did he know that? And then I could say, well, you know, the Lord quickened me to come down here. Perhaps maybe, you know, we should talk a little longer. Maybe he wants me to pray. I don't know what this moment holds for you. But he will give that miraculous physical healing from time to time. I've heard a lot of testimonies of that over the years. I have testimonies of my own of that kind of physical healing. But the greater healing is the healing of your soul, the healing of your spirit. And a lot of times it takes the brokenness of the body to get that started. These houses are pretty cool, aren't they? So this one I'm working on, you know, I can only tell you that addition has a pretty good price tag attached to it. I can't disclose, you know, private information. But anyhow, and we just heard today that there's going to be some changes to all that work we just did. But that's part of it too. What is this person doing? You think that dog spirit just kind of connected with mine? No? You think that's silly? That's nonsense? Animals are more tuned in than we are. Probably this grass is too, to tell you the truth. Anyhow, the workers, my coworkers were talking about going on vacation. And I said, you know, if one of you all asked me where I would go on vacation, I would tell you I want to live on the Pacific Ocean in Oregon. And I want to get a job there so I never have to leave. Anyhow. All right, y'all. 12:22 was the time when my eyes went up. That's a good time, big time number.